Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. Today is September the 16th, and I am going to be doing your Just for Today in a meditation for the same day. I greet you this morning. I hope you're doing well. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Look forward to the meditation. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, hopefully you're able to see that. September 16th, emotional balance. Emotional balance is one of the first results of meditation, and our experience bears this out. Basic text, page 47. Though each of us defines emotional balance a little differently, all of us must find it. Emotional balance can mean finding and maintaining a positive outlook on life, regardless of what may be happening around us. To some, it might mean an understanding of our emotions that allows us to respond, not react to our feelings. It can mean that we experience our feelings as intensely as we can while also moderating their excessive expression. Emotional balance comes with practice and prayer and meditation. We get quiet and share our thoughts and hopes and concerns with the God of our understanding. Then we listen for guidance, awaiting the power to act on that direction. Eventually, our skills in maintaining near balance gets better, and the wild up and down emotional swings we use to experience begin to settle. We develop an ability to let others feel their feelings. We have no need to judge them, and we fully embrace our own personal range of emotions. Just for today, through regular prayer and meditation, I will discover what emotional balance means to me. Wonderful. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. This meditation today about emotional balance is a very special topic for me. Emotional balance is different for everyone because everyone has their own understanding of when they're out of whack emotionally, right? So let's say for one person, they can tell they're emotionally unbalanced by the way they're reacting to things that are coming up throughout the course of the day. Another person, they may be intense in everything that they do. So for them to have a heated discussion doesn't mean a lot to them. That's how they communicate, right? However, if the same person that is used to intense communication begins to cry, shed tears over something, they may equate that with emotional imbalance. Okay? This is why it's important for each one of us to have our own understanding of what emotional balance is for us. And it's also equally important that each individual, by the time you get to this 11th step, you have already figured out who and what your higher power is from the third step. We turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood Him, right? And so the understanding that you have of your higher power now travels all the way from step 3 into step 11, where now through prayer and meditation, right? You're maintaining conscious contact with God, asking for knowledge of God's will and the power, the strength and the power to carry it out. But you don't get the knowledge and you don't get the strength to carry it out until you do the asking, right? It comes through prayer and meditation. Prayer is different for different people. The conversation that I have with you when I am doing this podcast is very much similar to how I speak when I am praying to God. Now, there's silent prayer, there's oral prayer, but my conversation with God is very natural for me. I probably can say I speak with God more than I do any single human being that I know. So when I'm praying, I'm in a dialogue. Do you remember when we were growing up and we were learning what manners were? We learned that when you're in a conversation, you speak, then you stop speaking, the other person responds. We were taught that, hopefully, we were taught that it's rude to talk when someone else is talking, and it's rude to interrupt someone while they're talking. I can remember many a times my mother looking at me with that eye of scolding because she's in a discussion with someone and I just happen to walk up to her and at that moment I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I just start talking. And she would look over at me and I would know instantly that I had violated etiquette. First of all, if it's important and it's an emergency, you say, "Excuse me." If they don't acknowledge you, they are letting you know that this is not the conversation that you can interrupt. Then the cue is, "Excuse me, it's an emergency," if it actually is. So where am I going with this? In the second paragraph there, it says emotional balance comes with practice in prayer and meditation. We get quiet and share our thoughts and hopes and concerns with the God of our understanding. Then we listen for guidance, awaiting the power to act on that direction. I don't know where this ideal came from that God is silent. I really don't. I believe when I am in a conversation and I am praying with the God of my own understanding, that etiquette is in force, right? I'm not talking about where the basic text says enforced morality lacks its power. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about praying is one thing, meditation is another. Many of us don't understand that it's a two-way street. But we're quick to say sponsorship is a two-way street when we think our sponsors should be doing more for us. But when it comes to this deeply personal spiritual relationship, we seem to forget that this is a relationship. Coming from that word to relay, right? Or a relay, right? Where you run back and forth or something goes back and forth, a relay race. Okay. So when I'm relating to God, I'm praying. I'm saying this is a concern for me. This is a concern for me, and I'm expressing myself. Then, if I could take the things that I learned from my childhood about etiquette, I stop talking and I start listening for the other person to speak and express themselves. And I am not over talking, right? I'm not interrupting. I'm listening to the other person. And in this situation, that person is the God of my own understanding. For me, that's how that works. And if I lack clarity, then I can say that. Just like I would if I was talking to one of my best friends. Girl, I know what you just said, but that don't make any sense to me. What? This is what I hear you saying. I hear you saying that your money is your money and your man's money is your money. Is that what you're saying? So you get to spend all the money and he has no use of his own funds? That makes no sense to me. Now, that's just an example that I'm sure all of us can relate to some extent. I can ask for understanding with my girl and some clarity, right? And then I listen again for them to expound on what they just said and make it more plain to me. But for some reason, when it comes to our relationship with God, we don't think we have that right. We don't think that we have that need. Now, I'm using our human relationships with one another to make this more clear to the individuals that are struggling with this. But make no mistake, the purpose in that is because that's the most tangible example, not because it's the most perfect example. A lot of people believe that because they can't see God, that changes the way in which we communicate. In other words, I'm saying I don't let human relationships dictate how I communicate with God, what my prayer and meditation looks like, even though that is the most tangible example that I have that I can share with other individuals. My relationship with my higher power, God of my understanding, actually dictates how I relate to other folk. Okay? So the reason why I'm using this example because it's tangible and I know that you speak and relate to people every day in your life. And I'm going to need for you to use and draw on that experience so that this meditation becomes more real to you. A lot of the times when a relationship is breaking down, right? A lot of the times when we're losing the intimacy of a relationship that we have enjoyed intimacy in. And I'm not talking sexuality. I'm talking about relationship intimacy, the ability to be known by another person without a mask, and it goes both ways. When that type of relationship begins to break down, there's offense. Usually there has been some offense, and usually only one person is aware of what the offense is because they are the one that is offended. Communication ceases to happen. There's the silent treatment. Now, all of a sudden, the person that is offended is not interested in dialoguing with the other person because they're harboring a resentment. And a lot of times they have this unexpected, unrealistic expectation of this other person to be able to read their minds. I've done something to offend you, and you expect for me to know that because you're being quiet now, that how do I know it's not just one of your typical mood swings? You want me to be able to read your mind and know that I should have said something a different way to you. Why don't you just open your mouth and say, I don't like the way that you said that. I'm offended by the way that you said that. Let me get this clear. You actually think such and such? And then give the other person the opportunity to explain. No, that's not what I was saying at all. Right? I'm sorry. That's not what I was saying at all. So there you go. We have a offense has taken place. Communication ceases to happen. There's this unrealistic expectation that other people can read our minds. Our relationship of prayer and meditation with the God of our own understanding is very similar. But here's the thing, it doesn't get better just because we want it to. A lot of times people expect God to give, 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 answer prayers, make things work out, and they're not putting forth any effort of changing their character defects, any effort at all. And then when something doesn't work out, recently a friend of mine got married, beautiful wedding, beautiful, beautiful wedding, beautiful spirits coming together as one. And I'm talking about old school marriage. She was a virgin. She had never given herself to any man. And she was in her mid-20s when she married this man. Father is a pastor of a nice sized church of at least 500 or more people. She marries this man. Right? She marries him and she finds out that he has never been loyal. Not only has he not ever been loyal, he was tricking her and everybody else, and he was violent. Never displayed any of that during their dating stage. So now, just a few months into the marriage, you're physically abused and you're dealing with someone that is not sexually dedicated to you only, right? And now she's in the midst of a divorce. And it hasn't even been a half a year. Is she upset? Absolutely. Does she question why this is happening? Absolutely. Is she hurt and devastated? Absolutely. But recently, what she said was, I can't track God right now. I cannot track God. I don't understand why this has to be happening to me. But I trust God. A lot of times we have this expectation that things are just going to work out. But we forget that we're only half of the relay, right? We're only half of the relationship. And the other half can throw us a speedball, right? Can throw us a situation because they are an individual with their own feelings and emotions. I would like it that if we have had an issue with God, if we have had a resentment with God, I would like it that you practice prayer and meditation. Some of you don't even know what that is because you're so busy talking, praying, but you're over talking and you're interrupting. You're not listening. And you need that second piece of prayer, of the relationship with your higher power, which is here. We listen for guidance, awaiting the power to act on that direction. You got the first part down very well. But because you have not been able to get the second part of it down pat, after you pray, the thought that you're hearing is your own thought, is your own will, is your own flesh. And you are mistaking that to be the spirit of the God of your own understanding. But in reality, you were only asking yourself because you're giving yourself your answer and you're moving forward. And then when things go crazy, you're trying to figure out, why did God allow that to happen? And then you're angry with God. Now, we say this all the time. We are not responsible for our disease. We are responsible for our recovery, right? You are responsible to get it right. I'm sorry, I can't give you a pass on that. You are responsible to practice the 11th step until you get it right. And you may have some failings in it, right? You may be hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and you call yourself praying during those times. And quite naturally, your flesh kicks in with the answer because that's what you've been used to. I want you to slow it down. I'm going to need you to slow it down and remember that when you get this right, you're going to start seeing connections come together that are meant to be, because now God's will has become your own true will, and you're receiving the power and the strength to carry out God's will. So there's going to be grace. This is what the 11th step is about. It's about cutting off the dead weight. It's about having a updated GPS. Oh, they don't use GPSs like that anymore. Some people still have Garmin's in their car, but it's about your Google Maps being correct, right? It's about you having the best information from the satellite that you could possibly get so that you know the road up ahead has some construction work on it and there's a speed trap. Now, I don't know how to make it any more clear than that. that when you get this 11th step right, not only praying, but meditating, where you can actually hear God give you direction. And because it is God's will, and because now you are identifying that God's will is your own true will, not your own true will, there's going to be grace so that you can go and move forward in that. And you won't have to worry about a bunch of orange signs that say detour or construction ahead, left lane closed, right lane closed, right? You won't have to worry about that because you're going to be getting the satellite information that's perfect from God, from the God of your own understanding, which is going to tell you, no, don't go that way. It'll take you an extra, what, 3 hours to get to your destination if you go this route. There's all this construction. Take the back road. You may have to slow down here and there, but you will reach your destination sooner. And you won't even double think it because you're used to now the sound, the voice of God speaking into your life and giving you direction. You won't even double think it. By the time you get to your destination, you may have to wait on a few people because they don't have that relationship like you do, right? This is what the map says, so this is what I'm going to do. People aren't even using atlas maps anymore, right? You're in a position where you can really change how your life continues. You can cut out the dead weight, the detours, just by getting to the point where you are practicing the 11th step and learning how the God of your own understanding is speaking to you. I've enjoyed talking to you today. As I said, this is one of my favorite topics. I would hope for you that through regular prayer and meditation that you would discover emotional balance, what that means to you, because you're going to need that throughout life. It's our emotions most of the time that we are, how can I say this? It's our emotions that we're actually using over. We're using drugs to try and quell or quiet our emotions, our feelings, our ugly thoughts, our racing thoughts, right? But now that you're cleaning up and you're no longer using a substance, a mind mood altering substance, you're going to need to fill that void with something. And I would wish for you that this 11th step through prayer and meditation, you would be able to quiet those storms within your mind and you will be able to receive the correct information that can help you move further down the road in a better condition than you ever have before. My name is MightyStream. I have enjoyed talking to you, and I am going to be talking to you tomorrow. Have a beautiful day on purpose.